Hi there, welcome back to Creatively Crafted Life. My name is Melanie, and today is another Smash Your Stash video where we focus on an item in our craft room to hopefully use up or at least put a dent in. This is a collaboration hosted by Bourbon Creeks Crafts, and it is a hashtag collaboration, which means if you want to check everybody else's video out, click on the hashtag in the description or in the title of this video. And I highly recommend it because there's usually somebody out there that has something pretty impressive to share. This month's challenge, if you want to call it that, was to use inks. And I decided to focus on alcohol inks. This is my alcohol ink collection. Yes, it's quite large, and I haven't used them in a very long time, so this was a really good challenge. I have a bunch of inks from Ranger, and I also have a bunch of inks from Bria Reese. And so I decided to just focus on these ones. Again, with the idea being that if I concentrate on just a few bottles instead of everything, you know, I will start to make some progress and hopefully at some point use them up, I guess. Yeah. Other supplies that I used when I was playing around was some rubbing alcohol, 99%, and I used this little, I call it a turkey baster, but air puffer thing from Tim Holtz. And my paper I used was a throwback to back in the day when we still got printed photos, and a really cool feature was these index sheets. And I recently, well not recently, probably in the last 4 or 5 years, got rid of all my negatives and moved everything digitally, and so I didn't need to keep these anymore. And I could have just chucked them out, but I thought that they would make a good option for things like alcohol inks. Now, I was using the back side, and you can see that there is some printing in here. But I found that as I was playing, for the most part, if I was strategic in my ink placement, you didn't really see the lettering come through at all, which you'll see here in a minute. I didn't use any ink blending tools or anything like that. My intent was mostly to just use air to move the inks around. I did use a paintbrush at some point just to try and move the ink around a little bit, but that was about it. Okay, so what did I make? Let me get resituated here and I'll show you what I did. Okay, let's zoom you in, and we're gonna start with probably my least favorite. Now, you guys, I'm not sure how well these will all translate on the camera, so they might look better on camera than they do in person, or maybe they look worse in person than they do. I don't know. Again, and it's also going to be a matter of opinion. So these first two here are not my favorite. I was trying to go for like a galaxy kind of look, and I think there's components of these that I like. And so what I see myself doing with these is to cut these into smaller panels. So for instance, I really like this upper corner here, and I could see me, you know, blocking this off to some extent and then using that as a layering piece on a card. So it's not a complete waste or, you know, a complete loss, but yeah. I think my problem here was that I had too many of these kind of streaks going on, and that was just overly concentrated alcohol and not enough movement, which is what I'm finding I like when it comes to the style of using alcohol inks. I like having some varying shades and not too concentrated of amounts, and I like it more blended than the kind of like these weird little, you know, tendrils. Okay. This one, I don't know if there's any redeeming qualities in this one. This one I had too much alcohol, and so it really became quite muddy in this section here. I might try using the alcohol ink, the Lift ink pad, you know, the one from Tim Holtz, and see if maybe I can salvage it. I don't know. We'll see. This one might be just a complete loss. When I say complete loss, it was still a learning experience. So never never be afraid to experiment, right? And that's really what this was. Up until now, I really only used my alcohol inks with like a felt pad, you know, and just kind of dabbed it on. So this was a learning experience for sure. Okay, so these next ones are better. Not much better. Some of them are not much better. But they're better. So this one here, I think for me is I just had too much muddying again. Like that's not my favorite. And I had a lot of this kind of texture, which I actually like a little bit of that splatter texture, but this one just felt like a lot. I also don't know if the color combination was the best. This brown was actually, according to the label, it said it was a wine color, but yeah, it is what it is. And then these next two, I was going for a water look because I thought this would look cute as a background with some stamped fish images, that kind of thing. This one, again, some pieces that I really, really love. Like I love this part here. I'm not loving this lower section where you kind of get like this weird kind of look in it. Yeah, but I think I can easily trim that out and still use this. I actually don't even mind this here. What was interesting with this was I was just using different shades of blue, but when I started playing with it, this kind of almost black color came out. So I don't know if that was in the dark blue that I was using or if that's just a result of the alcohol ink playing with the paper. I'm not sure. So this is an actual example where you can see that some of those letters from the printing on the back of the photo paper is coming through, but really over here you don't even really notice it. So I think this is totally workable. This was another experiment with that kind of water look, and I'll show you a better one here in a bit. But this is where I took the paintbrush and actually just did small little dots to try and simulate bubbles. I think it just was too much alcohol, rubbing alcohol on the paintbrush, and so a lot of the dots really migrated too much, and so yeah, I'm not loving most of this. I don't know if there's any piece I could salvage that I like enough. Maybe something in this corner, I don't know. We'll have to see what's what here in a little bit. This one I actually do really quite like. There's a lot of things that I love about this. So one, even though it is quite blended, I just think this looks really interesting. I love some of the shapes that kind of give that look of water. I really love like this kind of blended out look. I also love that there's some depth to this, that it's not completely covered so that you can see the white and the light blue in the background. So I think this one looks quite cool. I'm not sure which direction I would go in. Probably something like this. It looks like, you know, waves coming across. Would be fun to play with that one. This is a different colorway. I do like this one. There are some things that are not my favorite. This one kind of looks like sea coral to me, you know, with the way that you've got this like dotted on the outside. I really like that. This part here I'm not super loving, but I'm picturing like a coral kind of image, and then, you know, maybe like a clownfish stamp or something like that might be kind of fun. I don't know. This one I don't mind. Okay, so these next two, I was playing with the gold alcohol ink, which has like a pigment in it. And I don't know if you can see, yeah, you can, right? Like that shininess. It's still tacky, which I'm not loving. I also don't love the way the gold sits on top in this. I think this one would have been really cool if some of this wasn't there. I was afraid to keep adding more alcohol to get it to disperse though, and would possibly lose some of the bits that I love. Like I really love this little section here with the different colors and that swirling pattern. I do not love this dark part. This is kind of cool up here. And even this looks pretty cool even with that gold on there. But this, I don't know. I don't know about the alcohol pigment. I don't know what they call it. Metallics. Maybe Tim Holtz's or Ranger's work better. This one, again, same deal. A lot of it I really like, but that gold that I added in, yeah, not so much. I'm not loving that. which is too bad because I really love this section up here. And I think even this has some interest. So I probably will trim this one down for sure, and then maybe mask this up. It really bothers me that this is still tacky. I could add some like foil on top of it. I think would probably stick, and that might change things up as well. I played with doing some more monochromatic ones, and I did a couple green, and these are fine. I like them. I like some of this, you know, dark to light to medium. This was just single color, but you can see some of the different tones within the alcohol ink itself. I really wanted to have a bunch of greens again to form a background for, you know, maybe some cute critters or something like that, or even to die cut out maybe some leaves. We're in the fall season, so that would be kind of fun. I don't play with red a lot in mixed media. I find it quite challenging, often because someone had once mentioned it and I can't unsee it, and now I'm going to share it with you guys so you can't unsee it, is that it just tends to look like blood. I know, I'm sorry. But I wanted to see if I could make it work. I don't have enough variation in tone in this one for my taste. I would much rather have like a light, medium, and dark. And I do have some of that in here, but not enough. I think a little more variety would be better. But I think this would be a great piece for die cutting. Maybe, you know, die cutting out some hearts or something like that to do like a Valentine's card, or like a mushroom cap. I've got some dies that do mushrooms. I think that might be kind of fun. So this one I was experimenting with, trying to be intentional with where I was placing to build a scene. I don't know that it was entirely successful, but there is potential here. So I started off with the brown and then added the green, again thinking outdoors. I was really in this kind of like critter kind of thought process. And then it ended up being that this to me looks like an aerial photo of like a, you know, a dirt path or a patch, and then you've got shrubs and bushes on here. Again, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this. Probably will use it to die cut out some shapes. Here's another one of those water ones. I really like this one. I think this will work perfect for cards. This is where I added those dots again with a paintbrush. And with these ones, I was a little less heavy-handed on the alcohol ink or rubbing alcohol, so the dots are more defined. I really love like this kind of blending here with the dark and you know, the really dark pieces, and I just think this kind of looks like, you know, a turbulent underwater scene. So this next one, again, experimenting with some different colors. This one is okay. It's not my most favorite, but I do love the blending that's going on down here. I love this kind of bit up here. So again, I think if I start trimming these into smaller sections, that I'm going to like them even more. I didn't give up on that wine color, and I thought introducing some purple with it instead of red would be better. And I do like this better. I really, really love like this kind of purpley wine kind of overall blend. It could have gone muddy, but I think it looks okay. And I really like when you get layers and you see some depth in it. So would I use this whole thing? Well, no, because first of all, it's like a 5x5 sheet. So, you know, we are going to trim it down for a card panel, but I definitely could see, you know, using a big chunk of it for the background of a card. So the next three are the same color patterns again, and I like them for different reasons. I really love the different layers in this one. Overall, I think this one is a little too busy, so again, smaller pieces would be good. I love like this kind of blended outlook. No shock there. I don't always love this super dark concentration, but I think in this case it actually adds a little bit of contrast, which makes it work okay. Yeah, I'm not so sure. This is kind of interesting down here. Again, just experimenting. This kind of got blown out in this part here, which isn't great. It's the prettiest thing, but I love that I was able to get some almost foreground, if you want to call it that, and then some lighter tones in the back to give it some depth, so something to play with. And then this one, Just has a lot of interesting items going in here. It almost went too far with some of the blending out, but I really love like this band of color down here at the bottom. I think that's super cool. I also think some of this is very interesting. Again, like I said, almost too blown out, but not quite. Okay, so now my favorite pieces. So I was trying to do like a floral element with this. I've seen some people do some pretty amazing things. I'm clearly not there, but I was trying to make these into petals, and then this would be the part that would come around the front, almost like a tulip. And then this centerpiece here, normally you would go darker, but I found it was easier to do lighter in the middle than not. So I really think that's quite interesting. I love this corner down here, you guys. I just think that's so pretty. So I'm not sure how I would use this or how I would cut it up, but I think it's fun and interesting to look at. I also think this one is super fun and interesting to look at. I think that this is like a window into a foreign land. That's how I'm kind of looking at it. You know, you've got a look through the clouds all the way down, and you can see it just looks like different layers of mountain scenes going through the back, except it's in blue. So yeah, I love how the edges all kind of, you know, faded out. Yeah, there's pretty much not much. There's pretty much, I love everything about this one. I think I would have a hard time trimming this one and down, and I'm not quite sure what I would put for an image, because I don't know that I want to go a water scene with this, just because I love how this center turned. So leave me some ideas below. What kind of stamped image would you pair with this? And this last one is my absolute favorite. I think this one looks like storm clouds. I don't know if you can see it, but I think like this here, and then this really dark in the center just really, you know, brings about the contrast between the two. And I love this little pocket here, which almost looks like it's the sun trying to peek through. I also could go a night scene with this one, and I have a stamp set. I think it was from Hero Arts, my monthly hero kit, where they have like moon and stars and that kind of thing. And there might even be a silhouette of a kid. I was thinking that might look kind of cool on this kind of background. But I love this one, and I probably would just trim it slightly, ever so slightly, to get it to fit on a card, because I need to be 4 1/4, right? And this is 5 inch. Ooh, that would be tough. Tough. Probably on this side a little bit. I don't know. Anyways, let me know below what your favorite is, and what are your tips and tricks for playing with alcohol inks, because I clearly need to practice a little bit more, but man, it sure was fun. Now, as a side note here before I sign off, I use my fingers a lot. I didn't put gloves on or anything. And let's just say by the time I was finished playing with this and I went into the bathroom and I looked up and I had like a pink and purple mustache, because I must have touched my hands to my fingers in a momentary panic attack to see if it would come off. It did come off with a little bit of soap, but yeah, it's very messy. I also now have a dedicated craft mat for alcohol inks, because they do tend to be somewhat permanent. So just something to keep in mind. That is it for me today. So no completed projects, but a lot of opportunities for future crafting sessions. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Be sure to check out the other collaborators, and until next time, happy crafting.